You're 7 years old, standing in the kitchen doorway. Your mother is on the phone, laughing at something someone else said. You scraped your knee on the playground, there's blood, small drops forming a line down your shin, but when you try to show her, she waves you away without looking. Not now, sweetheart. You walk to the bathroom alone. You clean the wound yourself, the sting of hydrogen peroxide on raw skin teaching you something that words never could. Your pain isn't important enough to interrupt her day. And something inside you, something fundamental, learns to go silent. Fast forward to today. You're an adult now. Maybe you have a career, relationships, a life that looks put together from the outside. But that little kid, they're still inside you, still cleaning their own wounds in silence, still wondering why being seen feels impossible. Maybe you've noticed these patterns in your life, small things that don't quite make sense until you see them all together. You apologize for things that aren't your fault. Sorry for taking up your time. Sorry for bothering you. Sorry for existing in a way that requires acknowledgement. You feel guilty taking up space in conversations. When someone asks, "How are you?" your throat tightens because you've genuinely forgotten how to answer honestly. The real answer, the one about the exhaustion you can't name, the emptiness that follows you like a shadow. It feels too heavy, too much, too inconvenient for someone else to hold. In developmental psychology, there's a term for what you experienced: childhood emotional neglect, or SEN. Dr. Jonas Webb spent decades studying this invisible wound. And here's what makes it so insidious, so difficult to recognize. Your parents didn't have to be cruel. They might have been good people. They fed you, clothed you, sent you to decent schools, made sure you had what you needed to survive. But emotionally, they were absent. They didn't ask how you felt. They didn't notice when you were struggling. They didn't see you, not really, not in the way a child's developing brain desperately needs to be seen. And absence leaves a wound that has no name, no bruises, no proof, just a hollow space where something should have been. But here's the thing, the silence you learned as a child didn't stay in the past. It didn't conveniently disappear when you turned 18. It evolved. It became something else entirely. Let me show you the 7 signs you were the ignored child. And I want you to really listen, because you might recognize yourself in every single one. Sign number 1, hyper-independence. You'd rather struggle alone than ask for help. Not because you're strong, because asking meant being disappointed. Picture this, you're moving apartments. Your friend offers to help. You say, "I'm good," with that practiced smile, that effortless wave of the hand that says, "I've got this." 3 hours later, you're crying on the floor, surrounded by boxes, your back aching, your hands raw, wondering why you do this to yourself. Why would you rather break than reach out? It's because somewhere deep in your neural pathways, there's a memory, the time you asked for help and got, "I'm busy right now," the time you needed comfort and got silence, so you stopped asking. And that little decision, that protective mechanism, it calcified into your entire personality. Sign number 2, emotional numbness. You're watching a sad movie. Everyone around you is crying. You feel nothing. Or worse, you feel like you should feel something, and the emptiness where that feeling should be terrifies you more than any emotion ever could. It's like someone turned down the volume on your inner life. Sadness becomes a dull ache. Joy becomes a flicker. Everything gets muted because feeling fully, feeling deeply, was dangerous when you were young. No one was coming to help you process it. So you learn to feel less. Sign number 3, your worth is tied to constant performance. Love was never just given to you. You had to earn it every single time. You got straight A's, won awards, made your parents proud at parent-teacher conferences. But when you came home with that trophy, your mother barely looked up from her phone. "That's nice, honey." 5 seconds of acknowledgement for months of effort. And you learn that even your best isn't enough to be truly seen. So you keep performing, keep achieving, keep running on a hamster wheel of accomplishment, chasing a feeling of enough that never comes. Sign number 4. You have difficulty identifying your own needs. Someone asks, "What do you want for dinner?" And you genuinely don't know. Not because you're easygoing, not because you're flexible, because you were never taught that your preferences mattered. Your internal compass for what I need is broken because it was never calibrated. No one ever asked you what you wanted. They decided for you, or they didn't notice you were hungry at all. So now, as an adult, you're constantly looking to other people for cues. What do you think I should do? What would you do? You're outsourcing your own life because you don't trust that you have the right to want anything. Sign number 5, the caretaker complex. You're everyone's therapist, everyone's rock, the friend people call at 2 a.m. when they're falling apart. And you show up every time because taking care of others gives you purpose, gives you value, gives you a reason to exist. But who holds you when you break? The answer is no one, because you never learn to ask. And more than that, you don't even believe you're allowed to. You've internalized the message that your job is to be helpful, not to need help. Dr. Alice Miller wrote about this in her groundbreaking work, The Drama of the Gifted Child. She described children who develop a hypersensitivity to others' emotional needs while completely abandoning their own. Emotional reality. You became fluent in everyone else's feelings while remaining illiterate in your own. Sign number 6, chronic emptiness. There's a hollow feeling that follows you everywhere. You achieve something significant, a promotion, a relationship milestone, recognition, and you feel nothing. Or you feel it for a moment, and then it's gone, and the emptiness returns. Because the thing you're actually hungry for, the thing your soul is searching for, you didn't get it when your brain was forming its fundamental understanding of what safety and love feel like. You're trying to fill a childhood-sized hole with adult-sized accomplishments, and it will never work. Sign number 7. You're terrified of being too much. You edit your personality in real time. Someone says something funny, and you feel excitement bubbling up, but you dim it. You soften it. You make it palatable. You're angry about something legitimate, but you swallow it, reshape it into something more digestible. I'm just a little frustrated. You've become a master at making yourself smaller because somewhere deep down, in the part of you that holds all your earliest memories, you believe that the real you, the full, unedited, emotionally honest you, is inherently too much to love. If you show up fully, they'll leave. So you show up partially, perpetually, exhaustingly. Now, here's the part that no one warns you about. You didn't just learn to cope with being ignored. You learned to ignore yourself. You became your own absent parent. This is what psychologists call internalized neglect. The child who wasn't comforted learns to withhold comfort from themselves. Self-care feels selfish. Rest feels like laziness. Taking a day off feels like moral failure. Your inner voice, the one that narrates your life, that comments on your choices, it sounds eerily like the silence you grew up in. Critical, dismissive, impatient with your needs. And that strength everyone admires, that superhuman ability to handle everything, I need you to understand something. It's not strength. It's a survival mechanism. It's a little kid who learned that falling apart wasn't an option because no one was coming to pick up the pieces. So you learn to hold it together, to be fine, to be low maintenance, to never need too much. And everyone around you calls it resilience. But it's not resilience. It's self-abandonment. This plays out in your relationships in devastating ways. You're attracted to emotionally unavailable people, not because you're broken or self-destructive, but because abandonment feels like home. Your nervous system mistakes neglect for familiarity, and familiarity for love. When someone is inconsistent, when they're hot and cold, when they make you work for scraps of affection, your body recognizes that pattern. It says, "Oh, I know this game. This is what love feels like." Imagine this. You're dating someone amazing. They text back quickly. They remember things you mentioned in passing. They ask, "How are you feeling?" And actually wait for the answer. And you want to run. Your heart starts racing. You feel trapped. Consistent love feels wrong in your body. It doesn't compute with everything your childhood taught you. So you self-sabotage. Or you leave. Or you pick fights over nothing, create distance, do anything to return to the emotional scarcity you understand. Because, here's the painful truth, the one that sits at the center of all of this. You're not afraid of being abandoned. You're afraid you've already been abandoned. By yourself. Let me show you the science behind this. In 1975, developmental psychologist Dr. Edward Tronick conducted something called the still face experiment. Mothers were asked to interact normally with their infants, then suddenly become completely unresponsive, neutral face, no eye contact, no reaction. Within 2 minutes, the infants became distressed. They tried everything to get their mother's attention back, smiling, pointing, reaching, crying, and when nothing worked, they collapsed into helplessness. Their little brains were wired for connection, hardwired for it. And when that connection disappeared, even briefly, they didn't think, "Mom is having a bad day." They internalized, "Something is wrong with me." Now imagine that experiment lasting years. Childhood emotional neglect affects the development of your anterior cingulate cortex, the part of your brain responsible for emotional regulation and self-awareness. When you grow up without consistent emotional attunement, this area doesn't develop properly. The result? You're walking around with an underdeveloped emotional vocabulary. You can't name what you're feeling. Emotions hit you like tsunamis because you never learned to recognize the ripples. In attachment theory terms, you likely developed what's called an anxious avoidant attachment style. You crave intimacy, but you're terrified of it. You want to be seen, but you hide when someone actually looks. You're simultaneously running toward connection and away from it, stuck in a painful, exhausting contradiction. And your body? Your body keeps the score, as Dr. Bessel van der Kolk wrote. Your nervous system is stuck in hypervigilance. You're always scanning for signs you're too much, not enough, about to be left. Your shoulders carry tension you can't explain. Your stomach tightens in social situations. You're exhausted even when you've done nothing, because your system has been in survival mode for decades. But here's what I want you to know, and I need you to really hear this. This isn't a life sentence. The healing begins with naming the wound. Right now, wherever you are, I want you to try something. Say it out loud. I was emotionally neglected as a child, even if your parents were good people, even if you had food and shelter and educational opportunities. Say it. Because what was taken from you wasn't material, it was witnessing. It was mattering. It was the fundamental human need to be seen and valued simply for existing. Once you name it, you can start to reparent yourself. And I know that sounds like therapy speak, but let me make it concrete. Set a timer for 3 times a day. When it goes off, pause whatever you're doing. Put your hand on your chest and ask, what do I need right now? Not what you should need. Not what's productive or responsible. What you actually need. Maybe it's a glass of water. Maybe it's to step outside for 2 minutes. Maybe it's to cry. Maybe it's to scream into a pillow. Honor that need. This is how you teach your nervous system that you matter. When you accomplish something, don't immediately move to the next task. Our culture rewards constant motion, but you need to break that pattern. Pause. Place your hand on your heart. Say, I see you. You did that. That mattered. Give yourself the witnessing you never got. At first, it'll feel ridiculous. You'll feel self-conscious. Do it anyway. You're literally rewiring decades of neglect. Learn to set boundaries. Every time you say no to something that depletes you, you're teaching your nervous system that you matter, that your needs have weight, that you're not just here to be convenient for everyone else. Start small. I can't make it to that dinner. I need to leave by 9. That doesn't work for me. Your people-pleasing instinct will scream at you. That's the ignored child inside you, terrified of being abandoned. Comfort them. We're safe. This person will survive our no. And if they can't, they're not our person. If you have access to therapy, look into internal family systems, IFS, or EMDR. These modalities specifically help you go back to those wounded parts of yourself and give them what they needed. You're not changing the past, you're changing your relationship to the past. Do a relationship audit. Make a list of your closest relationships. For each person, ask yourself honestly, does this person have the capacity to see me? Not the version I perform, the real me, the one who's sometimes tired, sometimes needy, sometimes uncertain? If the answer is no, that's information. It's not your job to teach them. It's not your job to be so remarkable that they finally notice. It's your job to find people who already speak your language. And the hardest step of all, stop performing. Stop making yourself easy to love. Let someone see you messy, needy, uncertain, vulnerable, and watch what happens. The wrong people will leave. And that's not a tragedy. That's clarity. The right people won't flinch. They'll say, "Thank you for trusting me with this." And slowly, you'll learn that you can be fully human and still be loved. The ignored child grows up believing they have to earn the right to exist in other people's awareness. Every achievement, every act of service, every people-pleasing smile, it's all a desperate plea that sounds like, "Do you see me now? Am I enough now? Can I matter now?" But here's the revelation that changes everything. The person whose eyes you've been searching for, whose validation you've been craving, whose love you've been trying to earn, they're not out there. They're not in your past. They're not in your future relationships or your next accomplishment. They're inside you. That little kid who got waved away in the kitchen, who cleaned their own wounds, who learned to need less, to be smaller, to disappear, they're still waiting. But they're not waiting for your mother to finally put down the phone. They're not waiting for your father to ask how you're feeling. They're waiting for you to turn around, to kneel down, to look them in the eyes and say, "I see you. I'm sorry no one saw you before, but I see you now, and I'm not going anywhere." You don't need to be louder. You don't need to be more accomplished, more helpful, more convenient, more lovable. You just need to stop abandoning yourself the way everyone else did. So here's my question for you, and I want you to really sit with this. Let it sink past all your defenses. When was the last time you let yourself be seen? Not the version of you that's helpful, or funny, or strong, or put together, but the version that's tired, the version that's scared, the version that just needs someone to say, "You're enough exactly as you are." Drop a comment below, even if it's just one word, even if it's just seen, or struggling, or trying. Let me see you. Because that ignored child inside you has been invisible for too long, and you deserve to know what it feels like to be witnessed.